call our meeting to order. Seems like it's been a while since I've seen you all as a group, with us not having met last month, and then I think Daoud led the meeting prior to that for me, so. Ralph, okay. Good to be back. See everyone here. First order of business will be approval of those minutes of the June 13 meetings, which you should have received in advance. Second. A motion and a second. Any other discussion on those minutes?
Thank you.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving into the financial reports. Tom?
Okay, if you'll go to the financial statement section of your book. The first two pages there is the balance sheet as of June the 30th, 2013. Very little change. It's basically the same as that we discussed at the last meeting. So if you'll turn 5 pages to the page number 25 down at the bottom, page 25. That is the year-end statement, and I'd like to review that just a little bit. The operating revenues, you can see up at the top, is $100,000, and that's the amount that comes from the county. And if you will turn to the next page, which is page 26, down at the bottom, our total expenses, about a third of the way down the page there, you'll see our total expenses for the year was $568,863.99. We had a budget of $625,766, so we were expenses better than, our budget better than expenses of $56,902.01, which gave us a net ordinary income. We had anticipated in the budget a loss of $525,766. We actually came in $468,863.99. So we were under budget by $56,902.01. Our total other income for the year was $143,749.84. You'll see that about in the center of the page there.
That was
From interest income, land sales, bond fees. So the net income, last line down at the bottom, is $1,326,694.15 actual, against a budget of $1,516,996, which meant for the year we were actually under budget by $190,301.85, which is of course very good.
Point out just quickly for clarification that that's about $320,000 after land sales and bond fees in terms of you want to call it operating loss. The big item in there obviously was the transfer of $1 million to UGA Griffin, so that gets us down to that $1,326,000 deficit for the year.
Right. The balance of the pages are as of June 30th, 2013. They're on the budget, on the balance sheet, it's basically the same. There's very little to report there. It's the first month of the year, and so there's not a whole lot to say there other than it continues to look good. It's better than the budgeted amount, and we'll take a closer look at that at the next meeting.
May I ask something about this lost fund? In speaking with Dr. Keller last week, he said that I didn't understand quite whether we were ready to start our upgrade of Potato Creek, and I think we're holding $5 million for that upgrade from the SPOS funds.
We're not holding it, it's in the SPOS collections, correct?
That's under the pay-as-you-go. We've only, I think, received maybe, we only have in the account somewhere between $3 and $4 million right now.
Okay. So when will that be dispersed? When he asks for it, or when we actually start the project?
When we get the $5 million.
Okay.
He had mentioned, I wasn't clear either what he was asked, but he mentioned something to me the same evening he mentioned it to you.
Yeah.
But I wasn't clear on what he was asking because he was then making some reference about initiating some of the engineering. So I'm not sure where he is in the process there.
Well, I think part of it is it's gonna take, 18 to 24 months, once we get started to do it. So if a project comes in, we just want the authority to realize that depending on what their needs are, how much rain we're getting, because right now with the I&I in that plant, we're over our capacity. If it dries up, we'll be under capacity. If it stays wet, we're gonna be right at the borderline, so we don't want a prospect to come in and expect to have immediate needs met in that plant, and it's gonna take 18 to 24 months to do
Yeah,
it.
I think the plan has been, since we don't have $5 million SPOS collection so far, I've not done that, is we were hopeful we're gonna get the first person in the lakes fairly soon who would be using the system, then we would be paying that portion plus another large amount, and it's a good faith towards the total $5.
I think it's something that staff can probably get together and see what direction. We just don't want to be the ones caught behind the 8 ball if somebody comes in, and we want to be sure we're prepared for it. And we're going to have to go to GFA and get a loan for the rest of the amount, so we kind of want to be sure with the SPOS being a little behind, we want to be sure that what the commitment level is, so we know what to go to GFA and ask for as well. So we really need to get together and work out some of those details pretty quickly.
Any other questions of Tom and the financials? I get a motion to approve those as submitted.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, moving into our committee reports. First up is the investment committee, and Al.
I do not have a report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. David, anything on long range plan?
No report at this time.
Anything from off cliff on industrial parks?
Other than the folks are still started back cutting, maintaining all the industrial parks now. Start back in April. Kind of getting back in the swing.
Chipper, any updates from transportation committee?
Not really. The bids came in on the, local road resurfacing projects and everything like that. They were open Monday, I think. And, we hope to get started on those. It's gonna have to be a lot of leveling where we go in and repair the road damage that's so severe that we'll have to do up front. And, but anyway, by the end of the year, those roads, 27 miles of road
27.2 miles.
should be resurfaced. So that'll be Jordan Hill, McDonald Road, anyway, different
Several.
roads around the county, so.
David?
A few FYI items. Since we've met last, we've had 6 new projects come in. 2 for the NACOM building, 1 actually for a Carver Road site, and 2 for the lakes. 1 of them, we've already passed the first test, didn't get eliminated, and they actually visited last week. So we're still in that one, and the other one, we got past the first one, and they'll be coming to visit next week. And then 1, we have a food project that we're working with UGA. We're meeting tomorrow. It's one that actually we got, and I'm meeting with them to see if there's something they can do to continue to develop either a new food product or a new food line for this existing company. So activity is still good. On the University Food Technology Center, the real update is on the US EDA grant that we had applied for. We have been approved for $1.9 million, roughly. And with the US, a couple of explanations on that. This is still the United States Department. Being approved doesn't mean it's been funded. It means it's been approved. And actually, I guess we were impressed. I got the email on a Saturday afternoon. So I kept thinking, well, somebody's somewhere in Washington and sent me the email on Saturday. I thought that was a good sign. But they gave us a list of 8 things we have to send in subsequent to the approval. And if we do those 8 things, then they were very hopeful the grant would also be funded. And we've had a lot of hoops, and I will give the University of Georgia and Athens a whole lot of credit for basically stopping what they've been doing in other matters. Their legal department, their grants department, they really got on this, and they really did a great job along with our grants writers. And we got everything in, and so now we are waiting literally any day to see if the grant will actually be funded. So we actually got approved what we asked for, which is a great thing. It'll expand the building up to almost the original size from the very beginning. And it's just a really exciting part that our initial ask 6 years ago was $2 million. So this ask, we came down $1,000, $100,000. And so we actually got funded the 1.9. My math's not working real well. So that's a good thing. And a couple of other items I would mention. Of course, officially, we have been funded $100,000 by Spalding County for this current year, which we've already started receiving payments, for which we are grateful for the 100. One of our projects we've been working for a while actually had their board meeting yesterday. So we are awaiting the results of that board meeting to see whether or not they may decide to come to Spalding County or not. The only real holdup was it's a chemical company in the automotive industry, and been trying to work out, which fits right in with Joanne and Kenny's question, exactly what you can put into the system. And we actually we called Georgia Tech and asked Georgia Tech if they would approve a project to work with the company to actually help them pre-treat and develop using a little less water and actually helping get some of the chemicals out of what they put into the normal system. So Tech has agreed to do that. They've awarded us a project, and that was one thing that kept us in the hunt. So we're waiting to see what happens. Project Made in America, which was Norcom, it was announced. We actually received our bond fee yesterday, $17,500, which will go into next month's financial statements. And then the one project we've been working for the NACOM building, we have been eliminated on that one. It's a Fortune 500 consumer products company. And the reason we were eliminated, and the reason we know the reason, which is unusual, is actually the company called me. I guess it was last week. Said that they really wanted us to know the reason they did not choose Griffin. They could not make the NACOM facility, the building, work to fit the footprint of what they wanted to do. When they initially started the project, it did fit, and ironically, they liked the community well enough to where they were going to actually close a few facilities around the country and make the project larger. And then when they made the project larger, the NACOM building no longer fit the footprint. So it's good that we were considered, but it's obviously always never a good thing when you get eliminated. But we do have 2 other projects for the NACOM building at this time, and we hope we can get those worked out. So unless anyone has a question, that concludes my report.
Any questions of David? just reiterate our disappointment in learning on that one. That was several months of constant contact with that prospect. And we were very optimistic at one point that we felt like we might have been the last man standing, but then as they began to run into these physical constraints with the NACOM building in another state, in another community in another state, we believe, came into the fray.
Were they always using existing facilities?
Existing facilities was,
or,
that was an important issue with them due to cost and ramp up time.
Let me explain one other thing too, because this, I said it like everybody probably knew what I was talking about, and that's what I'm thinking, maybe we don't, because we've never talked about it. Do we ever really know why companies don't come here? In most cases, the answer is no. If we get any feedback at all, it's generally from a consultant, through a consultant, to the state, to someone else, and it gets to us, and generally it's just one of those, just tell them they have a great community and it just didn't work out. And that's not an answer and it's never a reason, but that's usually what you end up hearing. So there's not a really legitimate way to get feedback. And the part of this that was unusual was this project was being handled by 2 sets of consultants, along with the state working with us again. And the company decided they would call us directly and tell us why they did not choose Griffin. So we thought that was a big deal. They also told us they anticipate having future projects, and they certainly wanted us to know that we would be on their list in the future to consider for other projects. So it was unusual that we heard from the company directly, but it also was good that they actually did let us know the real reason.
Look background, David, again, on this particular plan, number of jobs, what kind of investment they were talking about,
Yeah, it was,
what kind of product.
Now, you want to get really depressed.
That's when I want that.
once the company announces, we'll tell you who it is, and it'll make you even
More depressed.
more depressed on that one. It's a consumer products company, and I would almost wager that each one of you in this room have multiple products this company makes in your house. And there was about 400 to maybe 500 jobs, and was up there around, I think the latest capital investment number was maybe around 400 million. It's
David,
a super project.
who determines, I know they do their consultants, do they seek consultants to find properties for them in the state they want to locate? Or are the consultants considering multiple states?
That's a great question. And this one was unusual because it had 2 consultants. They had hired one set of consultants to help them find real estate. They told them, here's what we're looking for. We want an existing building, and we want it to be about this size, ceiling height, this high, the basic parameters of a building. And then they tell, and we think we want to be, sometimes they just say search the United States. Other times they'll say search the Southeast, which is most of the time. And they'll tell, so that consultant went out and started searching all the buildings in the Southeast that met that requirement. And they actually visited every one of those buildings. And it took them months. And then they had another set of consultants they actually hired to end up doing the incentive portion and the labor portion, the labor interviews and negotiating the incentives. And so you really had 2 sets, and it was really unusual from our perspective. Usually one set of consultants does the entire thing. And so they go out, and if they happen to find a building in North Carolina and South Carolina, which is almost always the case, they are extremely tough competitors. And they find those buildings, and then they go out and they look at the building, make sure the buildings will work, and initially ours did. And then they visit the community for a presentation, start doing labor interviews, and start eliminating communities. And in the end, when you have maybe 2 to 4 left, they do more extensive, and they were here for 2 days at one point, which is a long visit. And we did 2 days of labor interviews. Ended up, they told me, working out really great, for the folks here. So that's really kind of how it does. It could be any state. The company generally sets the general geographic parameters, the building parameters. Consultants go out and do the other work.
And they contact the Georgia Department of Economic
It can come through us, it can come straight through to David through a consultant. It just depends on what they're looking for.
In this particular case, they came straight to us, then we call in the state, which we will always do, and then we worked as partners. And then the state gets another partner. Then you have Quick Start and other people who come in and do the same thing. Most of the time, it'll come through the state to us. There are some times, as E.J. mentioned, that they'll come to us, and then we call the state. So it's a great partnership we have here.
What I've seen in learning this whole thing over the last several years is that the smaller projects, the consultants tend to be very real estate centric. It seems to be a lot about the availability and the trying to get the best deal on the real estate. The larger projects, these consultants are very highly trained CPA types, and it's amazing what they can do in this room on a laptop and a spreadsheet as you start discussing the economics of the project. And next thing you know, they've thrown back at you a net present value of some 15-year cash flow, and you're just sitting there with your head tied in a knot, amazed at really the expertise and the amount of
Right, what brought that to mind was the amount of time that we put into one of the projects that didn't come here, and the consultants were from South Carolina, and that's where they ended up.
right.
And so, you know, you always don't want to be behind the 8 ball to start with.
It happens that way, but it also happens, we've got South Carolina consultants that have placed here too.
And
They're all different, each one is unique.
And that one was a hard project to figure out truly what the hot button for that, because that was a private company, 100% owned by one individual, and we were dealing directly with that individual.
Right.
And even though we had a lot of contact directly one-on-one with him, I was never clear on what his true hot button was. You know, it was, when you meet with him, you'd swear that you were just right in his sweet spot, and then you would hear, in fact, that the final reason we were given on that one was his ability to fly from his home community directly into the Charlotte airport, whereas there was not a direct flight into Hartsfield from his home community. That never really came up in early discussions. There was never any indication that was a hot button. See, sometimes you really don't know. Sometimes it's almost like that breakup letter we probably all got in elementary or high school. Did we get the real reason they broke up with us or not? We're just not sure.
Woman's prerogative.
I got a few of those too. Anything else, Steve? Get our reports from our community folks, and Bonnie, why don't we start, ladies first with the chamber?
So because I haven't been here for a couple of months, I miss seeing everybody. I've just had some other obligations. Thank you very much. Normally, we have our board meeting scheduled this afternoon, and we have postponed that because there's a lot of activity going on with the schools, and so it's affected a lot of folks, and we will be having our board meeting next Thursday afternoon at 3:30. Today, we are setting up for our Business Expo 2013. We have 80 vendors signed, and we are going to be holding that at the Kiwanis Center from 1 to 6 tomorrow. And we hope that all of you will come out. It's a variety of businesses, and we have a waiting list of people that we can call if we have space for them. So I think it's going to be exciting. We're really pleased, and the variety of businesses and services and organizations that have responded is amazing. So please come out and support these people and learn. It's to be a business-to-business opportunity for businesses to learn whether there is a company or another business here that they can do business with, and for the consumer, for the public to learn what we have here in this community that they may not know about. So we're looking forward to it, and some staff members are out there at this moment trying to line up the tables, and hope we fit everybody in there. So also we are working with Main Street and the Downtown Business organization for bringing back the Taste of Downtown. It's going to be the Taste and Music Festival, September 14th. So that promises to be another good event for this community. I would like to tell you that the Welcome Center has really been busy this summer. a lot of visitors from outside this community have been here. So there are folks traveling through all the time. Tourism is a big thing, and we need to put a little bit more emphasis on that to capitalize on some of those things. And it is being worked on. Thank you.
Kenny, update from the city?
Yes, sir, kind of a quiet summer from a development standpoint. You'll be happy to know that we'll be seeing the Ole Miss Winners come down real soon. And Popeye's Louisiana Fried Chicken, which I'm excited about. I like Popeye. Going to build a brand new facility on that site, so that'll be exciting. We're working with some landowners and some developers in our medical overlay district. We've been working real close with some developers over there, so hopefully we'll see some activity around the hospital and some of that vacant land over there that we put in our medical overlay district. So we're excited about that. Continue to work on the airport and keep up to date on that through the media, and that's an ongoing project. And we're just trying to find the funding and get everything kicked off to see our airport eventually come to fruition, I hope. And our Citizens Government Academy in the city will be starting the Thursday after Labor Day. So if you know some of your friends or co-workers who are interested in learning a little bit more about how government works, and particularly the ins and outs of municipal government, we'd love to have them. They can go on the website and get an application, and they'll start Thursday, September the 5th, which is the Thursday after Labor Day.
I know it's a DOT project. What's the timeline and status of the North Expressway?
Forever. I really don't know. I mean, that's going to be
expired.
a pretty extensive project, and it's going all the way up to La Prade Road, so they'll be in that area for a while. The progress appears to be rather slow, at least from my perspective, but I don't really know what.
I tell you, you look though at the magnitude of the utilities relocation and all the impacts through there. I mean, to their credit, it's a massive
It
undertaking.
is a very extensive project, and I'll try to find out what their estimated timeline is when it's made.
But our 6th Street Bridge opened
That's right.
on time, I mean,
Early.
way on time,
Early.
yes. It even could have been earlier had Atlanta Gas Light compacted their pipe situation like they should have when it was inspected. They failed, so they had to come back and redo their part of it. But
They must have hired the same contractor that buries the cable in your yard then.
I don't you have to talk to Brian about that.
I do want to, I'm glad you brought that up because it has been on my mind to commend the city on that project because it was clear to finish that project on time with the amount of rain and all, that is an indication that that project is very well planned from the engineering all the way through the execution.
Right.
And
If you
as
see
one who
Charles
was
Penny-
inconvenienced by it, I still.
As
commend the
another
city.
second.
Right, if you see Charles Penny, please pat him on the back. I think he babysat that project 24 hours a day.
I can assure you he was there almost every
Yes.
evening because
Yeah.
I saw him down there.
Right.
He had a lot of pressure on him, but Paragon did a great job on that project.
William?
Yes, sir. County Commissioners met Monday night. We're going to be working with Fayette County on the West McIntosh Road Bridge. That's a very long bridge, and Spalding County and Fayette County are working collaboratively together with the Department of Transportation to get that big bridge replaced, so we'll be working with them. We entered into a contract with URS Corporation for a Griffin Spalding Transit Feasibility Study. That again is an ARC project with funding coming jointly from the city and county to look at transit ideas here in Griffin and Spalding. We're going to finish up our workshop on our financial policies and procedures and have a fall retreat update on August the 23rd. Let's see. Been some changes lately in our tax assessor's department. Larry Lillard is now the chief appraiser. He is advertised and got a new assistant chief appraiser. Joe Maddox, a gentleman who'd been working for us for a while, was promoted to that position. And we've got two brand new field appraisers coming in next week. Jerry Johnson and Harry Busby, but we've seen some changes there since Tim retired. On the appeals, property tax assessment appeals, the old appeals, about 1,200 of them. The Board of Equalization has heard 109 appeals. 76 of those resulted in no change in value. 33% the value was changed to the property owner's request. That resulted in about a 4.2% loss in the value of the amount appealed. So appeals are going along. There's going to be appeals all during the month of August and September. So clerk of the court is working on those. We're working with the tax commissioner and the tax assessor's office on the 2013 tax digest. They should have that finished in September, and it looks like we're going to have a December 20th, 2013 due date on taxes. Sales ratio study. We received our sales ratio study for 2012. It came in at 40.74%, which is dead on the money. 40% is what we want it to come in at. That's the value of every sale in Spalding County during the calendar year 2012 compared to the value that the tax assessors put on them. So previously we had been as low as 34-35%, and which resulted in fines to the state that we had to pay. But that 2012 looks like it was dead on the money at 40.74%. Good job for the tax assessor's office. And last thing, 2014 SPLOST. Due to a recent federal court ruling, the date for the general primary has been moved from July to June the 3rd. The Commissioner's consensus last Monday night was to move forward with a 2014 June vote on the SPLOST on June the 3rd. So we'll be working with the cities and others for projects for a 2014 SPLOST. The existing SPLOST, 2008 SPLOST, will expire December 31st, 2014. We had estimated $750,000 per month in revenues. We're coming in around an average of $693,000, which is roughly 8% under what we had estimated. So all of the pay-as-you-go projects looks like they're going to be 8% under what was estimated on those projects. But we still got, 15, 16 months to go on that. So we're hopeful that the economy will pick back up, sales will pick back up, and we can make up some of that deficit that we have incurred over the past 5 years.
So does that mean the scope of each of the projects is carved back by 8%, or you eliminate 8% of the projects that were within the pay as you go? How does that work?
The Board of Commissioners have not decided, but you can't really eliminate projects, you just have to take the scope back. So it's going to be recommended to them that each project be reduced in scope 8%. But we're just holding off, hoping that the numbers will come up and hoping it'll be a lot less than 8%. Thank you.
EJ, anything to bring down from the state?
Things are going, just like David said, you've had 6 prospects recently. It's everywhere in this region. They're still doing very, very well. And it's all across the board. It's not just automotive. I mean, it's a simple majority automotive, but it's other things too. And so we're doing very well. We are, of course, are getting geared up for some trade shows, and the governor's going to be doing some more travel, and those permits coming up, and we're working through those processes right now.
For the benefit of this group, we all, EJ is a great cheerleader for this community as we have particularly these larger projects that come through the state. And we appreciate you being there, plugging for Griffin particularly, because we know you've got this region as a whole, but you've been a great cheerleader for us, and we appreciate that. Any other business to come before us? Hearing none,